Hi everybody, my name is Trevor Wofford and I'm here to show off my second place Branded Despia deck profile. This is different Branded Despia second place than last year, but we consistently get those second places, and let's just get started. One big difference from this year to I believe last year is we play 3 Albaz now as opposed to 2. Some people play 2, some people do 3. I like 3 because it lessens your reliance on Branded Fusion. And the more your deck relies solely on Branded Fusion, the more you take an L to an Ash Blossom, and then you just do nothing. So this helps us to get around that. And also just 3 is good for grinding. Sometimes your guys get banished, especially against like Kashtira or Runic. You're worried about them getting banished, so that's where you play those 3. Then we play triple Aliber. Aliber is always fantastic. I can't conceive a world where you'd ever play less than 3. It searches all your stuff. It provides like weird grave negation that nobody ever pays attention to. It's just always solid. So that's him. Then we get to 2-ofs. We play 2 Cartesia. There's maybe a world where you play 3, but with the 3 Albaz, you also have Fusion Deployment, which we'll get into later. Like, there's a lot of ways to access this card, so you don't really need it at 3, but it's just a great card. You love having it. It's another card that makes you less reliant on Branded Fusion. It's great. Quick Effect Fuse is also just crazy because it'll catch your opponent off guard. A lot of people will think that like you have to use the Cartesia, and you really don't. You can keep it on board. You can get like more value out of like your Branded Lost, things like that. And then 2 Merc is the last thing of a 2-of. You could maybe play this at 1. I was always fine with it at 2 because sometimes you want one in, like, you want to use one to fuse and then you want another one in hand for negation. It's just a good card. There are times like technically doesn't do anything on its own, but like I think it's worth it well enough that it's fine. It would be nice if it said like Despia and Mercurier would be really good, but you know, we can't have everything. And then we get to the start of many 1-ofs. So first being like, well, I'll just lay them all out. So these 6 I would play exactly as they are in terms of ratios. Quem is insane. Quem like just enables so many things that like you never think of necessarily. Like this can send any card that mentions Albaz, like any at all. So spells, traps, monsters. You can send Merc. You can reborn Merc. Merc can negate from field. Doesn't have to be from hand. Like there's a lot of plays that this card opens up. Adlib lets you cheat more Mirror Jade activations. It's crazy. Tragedy, you just always, like, I personally think like make Lubellion, use this, send, add your monster, and then this gives you follow up on another spell trap. Like this card's just always great. Albion is just, it's basically Upstart Goblin that then provides you fuel. I won a game based on, I was going through like, I don't think I have a single draw in my deck that gets me the game, and this got me to me because it sent an Albaz for me and then cycled into another card. It's a great card. Soronir and Lubellion, you just have to play together. You like Lubellion a lot, and then Soronir is probably the best one if you're just playing the 2. Depending on the format, you could probably throw in Magnamuts and stuff as well. I don't think Druisworm. Druisworm's fine. This engine could maybe be cut out, but like, it's good. It's, you know, it does its job perfectly well. And the last 1-of is Dark Magician. I didn't end up summoning Dragoon like at all in the tournament. I summoned it 1 time, but I didn't use any of its effects. I didn't use a negate. It was just a 3k body, and I could have summoned literally any other one just because I wanted to summon it. So I don't know. This needs to be put in the lab more of if it's worth playing or not. I never bricked on it, so like it could have been anything in the deck. Yeah, we'll find out from there. Getting on to more of your engine and like stuff that you really like. And so there's going to be some more stuff later, but this is mostly just like engine pieces and things like that. So first is Fusion Deployment. I consider this basically a branded spell. This card's insane. It gets you out Cartesia or Albaz, and both of those you want access to at different times. It's just amazing. This card's never bad. Every time you open this card, it's just insane. Same thing obviously with Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion, I mean, the whole deck, you know, wants to revolve around it. We try to make it so it's not the only line of play. But the card's just nuts. Anytime you can open with it, you're insane. Anytime it gets ashed, you kind of cry a little bit. But, you know, it's crazy. This card, Branded Opening, got way better with the release of Quem. Because before you just would summon Aliber, and that was fine. But now you can get Aliber or Quem, and that's just insane. The protection effect is also really good in the grave. Just insane card. Always would play this at 3. Now we're getting into more one-ofs. Branded is basically a deck full of one-ofs. So we've got Branded Lost, Branded in white, the one Branded in red. Foolish Burial is basically a branded card at this point because it sends tragedy and then you get a search. So it's like Rhoda. You've got your Called By to protect, and just Called By is always insane. You've got your Branded Retribution, and finally Branded Banishment. Some people don't play this. I love it. It crushes mirror matches in any deck that's light or darks. If you're in a format where like, you know, you're the only light or dark deck, maybe I'd cut it out, but I think this card is even good even then. But starting off, so Branded Lost. Branded Lost is insane. Every time you resolve it, like when you resolve your fusion summon, your opponent can't respond. And you can do a ton of crazy stuff if you know how to like set up your chains, and like you summon Guardian Chimera, they can't respond. You can set up Mirror Jade. Like if they're playing like Trap Tricks, for example, none of their cards work because they can't respond to the summon. Just cards nuts. You can't get Torrential. There's like so many things that you just can't respond with when you have this out. Branded in white, I really like. It gives you a searchable poly in the deck, and like having it be Miracle Fusion if you have Albaz in grave is just insane. Branded in red is where you get a lot of your interplay on your opponent's turn. Just a great card. You could probably play it at 2. I found 1 to be fine. But yeah, card's great. Foolish Burial we talked about is basically Rhoda because of tragedy, but you can also send like any other card you need, and it just comes up. It's just a great card. Called By, obviously Called By. Retribution, the on-field effect is fine. You're mainly playing it for the recursion. You can banish it to add something back from grave to hand, like a spell or trap. It's just great. It's good in the grind. A lot of times you end up sending it off Albion first, and then it just gives you back a card later. But even its on-field effect is fine. The shuffling back from grave is good. I lost a game, though, because I thought this would tribute the fusion on field, and I didn't realize it returns it to the extra, so I couldn't activate it because I didn't want to lose my thing on field. Yes, that was unfortunate, but, you know, read your cards, and then you'll be better than I will. And then last one, Branded Banishment, we talked about, but this is basically super poly. You can banish your opponent's stuff. It's just great. Anytime this card resolves, it's insane. So that is all your branded engine. And then finally getting into like non-engine-y like flex spots. I played 3 Ash. Ash is just always really good. I wanted to stay away from hand traps because I didn't really want to play into thrust or talents. But Ash is just too good not to play. I think it's almost always going to have a place in the meta. Then Imperm. Imperm, I mean, you could argue is almost better than Ash, right? Because it never plays into a hand into thrust or talents, and it's also like good as your 6th card off the top. Just great card. We play Super Poly because there's so many targets in the extra. If your opponent's on light or dark, like this card just smacks them up. The only thing this loses to is like Eradicator, which, you know, it happened once, but we still won overall, so it was fine. And then last card is 3 Droplet. Droplet's really good because we didn't have Kashtira in this little tournament, so it was insane. When Cash inevitably gets out of the format, you know, it's going to be right back up at the top of the tables because it's just an amazing card. Like, you activate Branded Fusion, they try to negate, you chain Droplet, and they think, you know, they're thinking they stopped your fusion, and meanwhile you've baited out a negate and then negated something else. It's just insane. So that's it. That's the whole deck. 45 cards. If I could cut anything, you know, you could probably cut out, if you really didn't want to play hand traps, you could probably cut out the 3 Ash, the Dark Magician. You don't have to play that engine. Then you'd be down to 41. And then you could maybe cut like another Merc if you really wanted to get to 40. I like having more spots because I like being able to side deck, which we can get into later. But I just think not having space to side cards out is just bad most of the time. And there's a lot of times you do want to side. You want to be able to like prepare for your opponent's matchups. Okay, extra. 2 Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade's great. You always want to have at least 1 in your extra deck. It's great. You can recycle it. That's why you don't play 3. 2 Albion, same exact thing. Albion is the one that searches the best thing. It searches a branded spell trap in the end phase, and it's also really good to summon. So we play it. We play the one of the Incandescent Albion, I think is called. Sanctifier. Incandescent was OCG name. Sanctifier's fine. It's, you know, we're not playing any gimmick puppet lock. I think that's a really like boring way to play. But even still, it's fine. It can't be targeted. It just keeps bringing stuff back on your opponent's turn for like no cost. You can really get into some like nice loops with it. The one, Rinbrum's good. It's not good all the time, but you can use it with Mirror Jade. You can go like Mirror Jade effect, negate, you get your search, then your Mirror Jade's still alive. So these two make a really good pair. We play Sprind because we're worried about something like, I don't know, like Contact C or something like that. This helps us play around that. There's just some other stuff too. Like if you use Rinbrum's Grave effect to summon Albaz, this will fuse like anything on your opponent's turn because it's just Albaz plus something special this turn, so you can just use it with anything. So it's like really good for that respect. Play the one Lubellion because it can shuffle itself back, so you don't really never need more than one. You play this because it'll get summoned off of Granganol sometimes. And you always want to summon Granganol. Granganol gets you search, dumps Albion most of the time, and you get your search. And this, you know, can get triggered off of, what is it? Can get triggered off the Granganol, gets summoned out. This card's just good. It gets beefy. You play the Corridus because Corridus is also nice. If you activate a Branded Fusion, you're locked into fusions for the turn. So if you get nibbed, Granganol can summon this, can't summon this, as far as I know. Don't let people cheat you on that. You've got the Dragus Despia. Dragus Despia is just awesome. Sometimes it's not even a super poly target. It's just a good generic like negate, and it just craps on Sprite, which is great. Guardian Chimera, you make off Branded in red. It's really good. Mud Dragon's just another super poly target. And then the Dragoon that you play with the Dark Magician, it's completely fine. It's theoretically good against like Runic and some other stuff, but it just, I never needed it, so I was like, whatever. That's the card. Obviously 15 card extra deck. You know, what are you gonna do? If I could play a 20 card extra deck, I would play a ton more flexible cards, but you know, we make do with what we can. All right, and then last but not least, side deck. I sided the one Alba Lenidus. This is the only extra deck thing, because I would side out the Dark Magician like constantly, and if you don't have Dark Magician, like you don't want to play Dragoon, so you'd summon this in, and this was actually fine. You can Contact Fuse if you're playing against like Bystial Dragon Link. It's insane. If they don't really know, you could just like wipe off like a couple cards off their board, and it's just insane. And then it's Send Effect in the end phase is also good. It searches you Branded Fusion, which is great. And then we're worried about back row decks, which is a big issue. So we play the 2 Lightning Storm, we play the 3 Evenly, we play the 3 Cosmic. I mean, these cards are good against stuff aside from back row, and then this just has the flexibility of being a quick play spell. First I was thinking Twin Twisters, but I think we like keeping the card in the hand, and also Banishing is really good, especially considering like Lord of the Heavenly Prison's around. We play 3 Ghost Belt. This card's nuts. It's good in the mirror. It's good against a lot of stuff right now, in my opinion. I think its card's kind of being slept on. And then we play 3 Talents, because if we're going to get ashed, at least we can rip a card out of their hand, right? And that's pretty much it, guys. Shout outs, of course, to the 707 squad, to my homies, the Hazes, the Carps, you know, the McCormicks. Miss you guys this year, but, you know, we'll see you next year, hopefully. Shout out to YouTube channel Cam the Duelist. He let me borrow Dragoon. You know, it didn't come up, but, like, still nice that he let me borrow it. Yeah, shout out to Outer Planes, you know, getting me all the practice this year, and just shout out to all my friends, you know. We're on year 11, you know. I can't wait to go to year 12. Really excited this year. Oh, also shout out, obviously, the Welty boys, you know, coming in clutch this year, making me kind of sweat. I didn't think Dinomorphia was going to make me freak out and realize that, like, oh, well, I'm glad I have a super poly right now. But yeah, thanks for everybody for listening, and, you know, don't get ashed.